Scientists agree that finding alien life is most likely on planets similar to ours. And often, descriptions of extraterrestrials somehow seem pretty human-like. Some ancient astronaut theorists look at these points and suggest a surprising answer. Maybe these aliens are actually human. It is kind of odd that many alien descriptions are essentially humanoid. Doesn't that make you wonder? Keep watching, because this theory goes deep. This brings up an interesting thought. One theory people have proposed is that these visitors aren't from outer space at all. They're travelers from our own future. They could literally be us, maybe 1,000, 10,000 years from now. Imagine meeting your future self. Let's just imagine for a moment that 10,000 years in the future, assuming we make it that long, humanity figures out time travel. They invent it. Just like in H.G. Wells' stories, they can journey backward or forward. So, let's say 10,000 years from now, we decide to come back to visit ourselves in the past. Maybe they've changed physically by then. They look like those gray aliens, or whoever they may be. It's possible ancient astronauts aren't creatures from other planets, but time travelers journeying from 2720 in a time machine. Could this be the real explanation? Stick around to hear the evidence. Time travel is a core concept in science fiction, but could real, flesh-and-blood humans actually find a way to move themselves through time with technology? Could that capability somehow help cover the huge distances of space? If you could travel really close to the speed of light, you could potentially reach the year 3000 relative to Earth time in just a couple of your own years. You'd have to get incredibly close to the speed of light for that effect, but it is physically possible according to what we know. This isn't just a theory, it's verified physics. We can demonstrate these effects where time slows down for the fast-moving object. So, you can reach the future quicker by traveling close to the speed of light. The initial ideas about this concept of time behaving flexibly were proposed by Albert Einstein in 1905 with his theory of special relativity. Pretty amazing how time isn't as fixed as we thought. Ancient astronaut theory suggests visitors came here a long time ago from somewhere else. The technology to do that, we'd assume, would use physics like we understand now. We know special relativity is a fundamental law of physics. It works everywhere in the universe. If ancient astronauts traveled across vast distances, going close enough to light speed, they wouldn't age much compared to people on their home planet. Because if you're moving close enough to the speed of light, time for you will slow down significantly enough that when you return, hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of years could have gone by back home. One limitation is that anything with mass prevents hitting light speed. This is why just flying fast isn't enough. Keep watching to hear about another solution. Any tiny bit of mass prevents hitting light speed. This means crossing vast distances in our lifetime by just traveling through space is incredibly difficult. Many theories exist about how visitors got here, how their propulsion systems worked. They likely aren't traveling here the way we launch rockets today. That wouldn't get them here efficiently.
They'd need different ways. They have either figured out a new kind of propulsion system, or they can travel through theoretical shortcuts in space-time, often called wormholes, which could instantly transport them. The concept of wormholes was first explored in 1935 by Albert Einstein and physicist Nathan Rosen. Have you heard about wormholes before? They sound like something out of sci-fi.
They looked into the possibility that space and time could literally be curved or bent to create a kind of shortcut. Wormholes haven't been detected. They're a proposed structure in space. Imagine taking a sheet of paper, bending it in half, and poking a hole to connect two distant points. That's a simplified idea. A wormhole is thought to do something similar in space-time. It warps space and connects different parts of space, potentially over vast distances. There are predictions about what they might be like. Theories exist, but we haven't found one yet. You aren't actually traveling faster than the speed of light through the wormhole. You're just taking a shortcut through space-time.
It's bending the highway, not breaking the speed limit.
You don't have to travel at light speed for light years to get somewhere far away. You could theoretically step through a wormhole, maybe involving concepts like hyperspace, and arrive almost instantly. If a stable wormhole could exist in space, it could potentially be adapted into a time machine. And so, traveling backward in time, as well as forward, might then be possible. So if wormholes exist, time travel might too.
The challenge is acquiring or creating a stable wormhole.
It's been theorized that tiny wormholes might have formed in the Big Bang.
Just tiny pockets of space-time connecting different points.
There might hypothetically be one out there in the universe we could find and perhaps adapt to create a time machine. Mind blown? Give the video a like if you think wormholes are the key. The Mahabharata, an ancient Indian text from maybe the 8th century BC. In this sacred writing, King Ravata is described journeying to the heavens to meet the creator god Brahma, only returning to find hundreds of years have passed on Earth.
Some researchers suggest this Hindu story might be one of the oldest records, describing an event that resembles successful time travel in ancient accounts. There's a tale of a king called Ravata, and he is taken into space to see beings he considers gods. When he returns to Earth, he finds that many ages have gone by. Hundreds of years have passed. This is the kind of effect that could happen to space travelers moving at very high speeds. And it's also consistent with a time travel story. Could this be ancient evidence?
You might feel like you were only gone for a few days, but upon returning to Earth, you discover that hundreds of years have actually passed. Like the legend from Chaco Canyon, similar tales that could be interpreted as time travel are found across ancient cultures. In Japan, the legend of Urashima Taro details a fisherman's visit to the palace of the sea god, Ryujin. He spent what seemed like only 3 days there. When he returns to his fishing village, he finds that 300 years have passed while he was gone, and his house is in ruins. Everyone he knew is long dead. No one remembers him or his family. Imagine that feeling. And in the Hebrew Bible, descriptions concerning the prophet Jeremiah in Jerusalem show eerie similarities to both of these accounts of time travel.
Even in the Bible, the prophet Jeremiah was sitting with a few friends,
and there was a young boy named Abim. Jeremiah told Abim, "Go outside Jerusalem. There's a hill. Collect some figs for us." The boy went out and collected fresh figs. All of a sudden, Abim hears some noise and wind in the air, and he becomes unconscious. He blacked out. After a time, he wakes up and saw it was nearly evening. So he runs back to the community and found the city filled with strange soldiers. He asked, "What's going on here? Where is Jeremiah and everyone else?" And an old man replied, "That was 62 years ago." It's a time travel story written in the Bible. Time travel in the Bible? That's pretty incredible if true.
Since the famous UFO incident in 1947 near Roswell, New Mexico, thousands of reports of unusual aerial sightings and even claimed accounts of alien abductions have surfaced. Often described as humanoids with noticeably large heads and slender bodies, some researchers believe these beings could be a species some call the Greys. You've probably seen pictures of them. What do you think they are?
These alleged visitors look not too different from us. They have heads, they have hands, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, a nose, a basic mouth. Their descriptions certainly suggest they are relatively close to human form, or what they are said to resemble aligns closely with early science fiction concepts of how the human species might evolve over vast spans of time. If you look at the extraterrestrials described, like the Greys linked to the Roswell incident, you'll see their forms in many ways resemble what we might envision or predict we could look like in the future if humanity became a spacefaring race. The alleged Roswell crash in New Mexico happened coincidentally close to the birthday of the Egyptian goddess Isis. Is that just a weird coincidence? So it makes you wonder too, if these alleged alien bodies supposedly found at the Roswell crash site, described with thin bodies and big heads, weren't some form of time-traveling visitors. Is it possible the beings believed to have been recovered at Roswell traveled here from the star system Sirius, just like the Egyptian goddess Isis is linked to Sirius in some ancient astronaut theories. And might they be arriving here using extremely advanced knowledge in space-time technology? Many believe it's quite possible that alien visitors, if they are real and are as described, are using some form of advanced travel, perhaps teleportation or certainly propulsion systems that can approach the speed of light. What we do know is that the physics we've discovered on our planet, quantum physics and general relativity, have advanced our understanding significantly over the last century. While not stating it's easily achievable now, these theories do not present fundamental mathematical restrictions on time travel, either to the future or potentially to the past, under certain theoretical conditions like traversable wormholes. Once you understand that current physics doesn't rule it out entirely in theory, the focus shifts to how could we actually do this? If time travel were possible, or related concepts like manipulating space-time for travel, it could allow movement from place to place across vast distances almost instantly. This would revolutionize all forms of travel and communication, creating connections between humans and any other civilization, including those on other planets, possibly across immense gulfs of space and time. The idea that time travel isn't strictly forbidden by physics is pretty wild, isn't it? But who exactly are these alleged visitors called the Greys? Is it possible they came to Earth, not from other planets, but from the future, or perhaps the past? Or could they actually be human time travelers in a modified form? There are various theories about the origin of the Greys. Some accounts suggest they are ancient beings who have been present throughout history and are still around today. Have you ever heard stories about them? But there are also claimed encounters where it's been stated that the Greys are in fact us from the future, and that they have traveled back in time, perhaps because in our future, humanity has genetically altered itself in ways that led to a situation where the Greys are no longer able to reproduce naturally, and they have to return to our time period to somehow resolve this situation or find a solution. This is a fascinating, if somewhat dark theory about our future. Back in the 60s and 70s, people speculated on what human beings might look like 1,000 or 2,000 years down the road. The common idea was that our intellectual capabilities would expand, leading to larger brains. Meanwhile, machinery would handle physical labor, making us almost physically inactive beings. Think about how much we rely on computers and automation now. And if you look at those earlier concepts of the future human form, they bear a resemblance to the standard description of the traditional gray alien, the one linked to Roswell. I personally lean towards believing in the possibility of time travel. I think nothing will be impossible for us to achieve in the future. Even if we view it as completely impossible or crazy now, it will happen eventually. It's exciting to think about what humanity is capable of. Whatever humans are able to conceive, to calculate, even to just fantasize about, could one day become reality. Sometimes I find myself wondering if these UFOs aren't time travelers. Perhaps they are our own people journeying back from the future. Considering the speed of scientific progress just in the last century alone, might it be possible future humans have indeed discovered the ability to travel in time, as some ancient astronaut theorists propose? Are they, in fact, the so-called visitors recorded throughout history, or are they truly extraterrestrial aliens who have mastered travel through both time and? So what do you believe? Time travelers or aliens? Tell me in the comments. Space? Perhaps the answers lie not just in the here and now, but in another place and time. Kingman, Arizona, May 1953. At the height of the Cold War, an alleged unidentified object reportedly crashed in the desert. What remained was supposedly sent to America's most top-secret facility, Area 51. The mystery deepens. But it wasn't until 45 years later, in 1998, that a retired military engineer named Bill Uhouse came forward with a stunning claim. He alleged the military didn't just have extraterrestrial technology, they had an actual living alien in custody. Uhouse claimed he worked at a secret laboratory, supposedly in the Papoose Mountains of Area 51 in Nevada, and that since 1953, The US government had a being described as an insectoid alien that was working with them. Have you heard this story before?
Its name was J-Rod.
J-Rod allegedly assisted the military in trying to understand and replicate the claimed incredible power systems and advanced technology that was recovered from the alleged Kingman craft. Shortly after Bill Uhouse shared his story, microbiologist Dan Burish also came forward, appearing to support parts of the claim. But according to Dan Burish's account, J-Rod claimed that it was not an alien from another planet.
What it supposedly revealed was something even more shocking.
This being, described as insectoid, J-Rod, allegedly said that it had actually come from our future. It claimed that at some point in our relatively near future, there is a catastrophe on this planet, and much of mankind is destroyed. It claimed that humanity then splits into two different species. A future catastrophe? That's a chilling thought.
And one of these species goes and lives underground.
And while living underground for a long time, they purportedly develop these insectoid traits. This aligns somewhat with what some indigenous Hopi and Zuni, and even Navajo legends say, that during a transition period between worlds, this above-ground world of today was not habitable, and they had to go underground and live for some time with beings they called the Ant People.
It's fascinating how this connects to ancient legends. And it makes you wonder if perhaps the being described as J-Rod is actually a human being with insectoid features, evolved from our own future. Could the accounts of J-Rod potentially lend some credence to the Hopi stories of ant people, suggesting they were more than just mythology? And if beings described as insectoids really do exist, is it possible that they are not aliens from distant stars, but humans from the future? What do you make of the J-Rod story? Let me know below. Some theories propose that claimed alien appearances might be linked to our human evolution over thousands of years, perhaps tied to changes in our reproductive systems. Maybe these alleged visitors are trying to create a new kind of human, possibly one that could better withstand future atmospheric changes here on Earth, or potentially help us reach a point where we have to leave the planet entirely. But if humans are someday forced underground by a major cataclysmic event, does it even make scientific sense from a biological perspective that we would evolve to have insect-like characteristics? While complex, the scientific consensus is that our DNA is overwhelmingly human and primate in origin, not significantly derived from insects through simple mechanisms like bites. While horizontal gene transfer can occur, especially with microbes, the idea of inheriting substantial insect genetic material in this way and on this scale is not supported by current genetic evidence. So the science on this specific connection is pretty shaky. The work on the human genome has shown complex origins and structures, including elements like transposons. These are segments of DNA that can move around within our genome. The claim about large percentages of our DNA coming from insects via bites is not consistent with current genetic understanding. While transposons exist across many life forms, and some ancient transfers might have occurred at a microbial level, the idea of major insect DNA integration into the human lineage via bites at the scale suggested is highly speculative and lacks scientific support. Science is amazing, but we need to be careful about misinterpreting it. Genetic analysis confirms the vast majority of our genome reflects our evolutionary path from primate ancestors. The notion that significant insect genes are likely in our system because ancestors were bitten by insects is an inaccurate portrayal of genetic science and evolution. So, while the idea of future humans as aliens is fascinating, the genetic link to insects via bites isn't currently supported by science. Want to keep exploring mind-bending theories like this? Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thanks for watching.